Stanley Cup Final is set as we have the Florida Panthers representing the Eastern Conference and the Edmonton Oilers representing the Western Conference. We have a ton of storylines in this series. I'm going to go through the top ones so fans can get jazzed up and have something good to follow along and have some good background information as the series progresses. Number 1 is Connor McDavid, number 97 on the Edmonton Oilers. He is the best player in the NHL. He's been on the Oilers for 9 seasons now, and he finally got them over the hump and got them to the Stanley Cup Final. He's been their captain since 19 years old. He's won a ton of trophies in this league. The Art Ross, the Rocket Richard, the Hart Trophy is the league's MVP. It's going to be great to see him on the grandest stage of them all. Will he be able to lead his team to victory? Speaking of getting the Oilers to victory, there hasn't been a Canadian team since 1993 Montreal Canadiens to win the Stanley Cup. Will this be the year for the first time in 31 years? There's been 6 teams to get a Canadian team to the Stanley Cup Final, and every single time they fell short. Will the Oilers be the ones to bring the trophy back to Canada? Also, we have the 2014 NHL Draft. This is a crazy stat. The top 4 players in that draft are all a part of the series. So we have Aaron Ekblad, who was drafted 1st overall by the Florida Panthers. He's still on the team. And we have Leon Draisaitl, who was drafted 3rd overall by the Edmonton Oilers. He's still on that team. But then we have Sam Reinhart, who was drafted 2nd overall by the Buffalo Sabres. He got traded to Florida a couple years ago. And then Sam Bennett was drafted 4th overall by the Calgary Flames. He got traded to Florida also a couple years ago. So 3 are on Florida, 1's on Edmonton. That's going to be something people talk about for a lot of part of this series. Speaking of Sam Bennett, we also have the Battle of Alberta kind of reigniting with him and Matthew Tkachuk. We're both on the Flames for a few years. From 2016 to 2021, there was some bag battles between them and the Edmonton Oilers, both in the province of Alberta. There were fights. There was a lot of back and forth. There was playoff series, just a lot of good drama. So that's going to be good to see. Evander Kane on the Oilers said last series the Dallas Stars didn't want to get in the mix. That's not going to be a problem with the Florida Panthers and with these guys in particular. Also, the Florida Panthers were in the Stanley Cup Final last year. They lost 4-1 to Vegas. They're going to be back for a 2nd straight year. They're going to talk about that. They didn't touch the Eastern Conference trophy this year, which is a superstitious thing. So we'll see if that leads them to victory. Also, it's the 5th straight season that a team from Florida has been in the Stanley Cup Final. With Florida the last 2 years, Tampa the 3 years before that. People are going to talk about the no state income tax being an advantage to these teams. That's going to be something you want to hear, and you're going to hear nonstop. Another thing, too, is the distance between these 2 teams. It's the longest distance between 2 Stanley Cup Final teams. It's over 2,500 miles between the 2, which then leads to long rest days on travel days. There's going to be 2 days of rest for all the travel days, which is going to elongate the series if it goes to 7 games to June 24th. And then you have the NHL draft starting June 28th, and then free agency starting July 1st. So just no time for off season. That's going to be a storyline. And also fans are going to be waiting for games. So that's going to stink for the fans. I think that's most of the storylines I can think of off the top of my head. There's definitely more as the series goes on. On Thursday, I'm going to have a breakdown more so of the lineups, of the special teams, of the goaltending, just really how the series is going to play out. Let me know what you think in the comments, how excited you are. It's the Stanley Cup Finals. We're finally here. Let's see who gets to lift Lord Stanley. Let's go.